Hey folks, welcome back to the show. It's another episode of the Agency Freedom Podcast. We help insurance professionals move from captivity to freedom. Welcome to those of you watching us on our YouTube channel. Thanks for checking us out there in living color. And for everybody else on the traditional platforms of your choice, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Amazon, thanks for dialing in. We've got an action-packed episode today with my man Brandon Rondon from Edmond, Oklahoma. We are probably not going to talk that much about insurance, just instead taking the angle of leadership, specifically servant leadership, and how to love your people well and develop them as humans and as team members. So if that's something that interests you, then man, let's go. And if not, maybe skip this episode and you can apologize to Brandon later because he's about to bring the fire. Brandon, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, you have an amazing story. We'll get the biography stuff in just a second. You can give us your background and how you got to this point in your life and your career. I'll run you through just a little bit here, Freedom Jumper out there. This man has been in two flavors of captive environment and has been an independent agency owner for about 3 years. So he speaks with authority on all kinds of stuff on the whole leaving captivity mindset. But aside from that, there's some really interesting stuff that Brandon has experienced that I'm just really excited for. Man, why don't you just take us off into your background? Tell us about your family, your hobbies, interests, how you found insurance in the first place, whatever you want to share, man.
Man, so how I found insurance was, believe it or not, I used to fight professional MMA, and my fight promoter at the time, he was opening up a State Farm office in Edmond. I lived in Bossier City, Louisiana. That's where we're all from. And he was like, and the reason why I got into fighting was I always wanted to become a professional wrestler growing up. I was just really good on the microphone and just became good at fighting. And then he said, hey, with your microphone skill set, I think you'd be really good in insurance sales. And I was going to school to become a school teacher. So I was totally different path, just wanted to hang out, play with kids all day. You know, I was going to become a PE teacher and a football coach and all that. And then he offered me the position up here, moved up here, got into insurance with State Farm. Did that for about 9.5, 10 years, and then broke away from captivity, went over to Allstate. And then once I saw the writing on the wall with Allstate and just all the different opportunities all these agents had as an independent, there was no other option but just to go to independent.
Yeah, I feel you, man. We've talked a few times on this podcast about just the head scratching weird stuff that Big Blue is doing to kind of hurt the abilities, in my opinion, for exclusive agents to have any advantage in the marketplace. Really curious to see how this branding shift to the NatGen platform and, re-exclusivizing the Allstate brand for only their exclusive agents and forcing all the independent agents to write under the NatGen brand. Curious to see how that goes. Maybe the EAs get a shot in the arm because, man, right now it's got to be an incredibly difficult road being an Allstate EA, that's for sure. I'm not at all surprised to see that you wanted to leave 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I should say.
Yeah, one of my FSLs at the time was like, he was on his way out because of the big layoffs, and he was like, you need to look at this route and get out here within the next 6 months to a year. And we took his advice, and he's an independent agent too as well after the whole FSL layoff situation in November, and he's loving it, and I think he's somewhere in Texas, right by the Motor Speedway, right over there.
Man, now I got out for different reasons. Of course, my challenges with farmers were not the same challenges that Allstate agents have, but nevertheless, makes a lot of sense why you would make that move. Anything else about your background, your biography, or anything that you want to share as far as interest and whatnot before we jump into a little bit more focus on leadership and building a team?
Yeah, so I would say, insurance basically made, it made my life. I was going to school, becoming a school teacher, wasn't going to make much money there. And I grew up single mom, 3 kids. She made maybe $30,000 a year. I don't know how she did it, but she's my hero with that. And so getting into insurance and seeing what my old agent was able to do for his family and his mother-in-law and his dad, I was like, man, I could do that for my mom and do that for my family. And I'm on my way to doing that and being able to provide for, my mom who worked her whole life, as a single mom, also for my family, being able to go, we never went to Disney World. We let alone went to Six Flags as a kid, or even our local theme park. But now we get to go to Disney once, twice a year. And just the stuff that insurance has given me, the life that insurance has given me, I can never repay it. And it's led to me meeting my wife. If I didn't move up here because, I fought back then and I had a fight up here for a boxing match. And that's where I met my wife. I tried to date her for about a year, and my sales manager at the time made me read a book. It was an insurance sales book, but we used that book to get my wife to break her up with her current boyfriend, and we broke them up, and here I am married to her 10, 11 years later on. So insurance is really...
Okay. I've got to pause for a second. I got to hear more about this story. How did that go down? Which sales closing technique did you use to break her up with her old boyfriend?
So there's a book called The Wedge. It's the Wedge sales book. And so he was trying to get me to follow the talk path, which I'm very hard-headed. Finally gave in, started listening to the talk path that they created. And then he gave me this book. He was like, you have to learn how to get in between the other company and us. And we were State Farm at the time, and be able to present the options. And so while she was dating this guy, we actually hired her sister, because we would all hang out at the pool. There's a community apartment pool. We hired her sister while our boss was away to work for us at the State Farm office, just so I could get closer to her sister. The boss came back from like a 2-week vacation. New person was on payroll, and then she ended up sticking with him for 10, 11 years too as well. So we hired her, and then I was using her to get in, leaving little gifts on her truck throughout the week and everything. So using that wedge, and then just showing her like the difference, what her boyfriend was versus what I could do. And just that wedge allowed us to break them up. And now we're here 11 years later on.
The charm offensive, huh?
Yeah. And I told her, I was like, I'm very persistent and that's why I think I'm good in insurance. I don't give up on the things that I want. And it was a good year before she gave me a chance. And then she gave me a chance after that.
Yeah, it sounds like she did, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I don't know if you ever told Randy about that story. I don't think he intended for those talking points to be used in a dating relationship, but it's not that much of a stretch if you think about it.
Yeah. No, I think I messaged him about 2 years ago on Facebook. I think it went unread. I know he has a lot of people reaching out to him, but I didn't message him a couple of years ago and tell him that.
No, he's reached out a couple of times on LinkedIn trying to schedule time to be on this podcast, but it always coincided with him like promoting a program of his. So I'm like, this seems like a pitch festival, and I'm sure I'll have him on at some point because obviously he's a very accomplished sales trainer and has some interesting perspectives on things. I'm just not a huge fan of people using my podcast as a leveraged platform for them to spam my audience with the stuff they're trying to sell. Not any disrespect to Randy Schwantz, just in general, people that are having that objective aren't welcome here. My audience deserves better than that.
Right. Yeah. That book is good. So I'm not brought here by him.
No, you're definitely not. No, he has got so much legs out of a book that he wrote 30 years ago. It's wild.
Yeah.
Now, to think about those topics in a digital age, in a post-digital age, with all the things that AI is starting to make more commonplace, like the stuff that Randy wrote about in The Wedge 30 years ago, are more true today than they were in the early 90s.
Wow, I didn't realize how old that book was.
I don't know when the original published date, but it's got to be close to 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Let me see. I don't know what the original published date was. I'm looking it up right now. I was wrong. It wasn't the early 90s. It was 98. Okay. So it's 26 years old. But still, 98 was basically before the internet became mainstream. Yeah. So, wow. Anyways, away from Randy. There you go. Hope you enjoy that free publicity there, Randy. I don't think you need it, but so thinking about leadership in the context of what you've done at your agency, Brandon, I would love to hear about how you came around to not just thinking, oh, I need to be a better leader, because everybody who owns an agency, if they're smart, is thinking, how can I be a better leader? How can I be more effective leading myself first and leading my team second? obviously that's something that you thought about, but you went beyond thoughts and went into action. Tell me about that journey when you started becoming, fascinated with the concept of leadership and in the context of the work that you and I do.
So the place I came from, being in a captive agency, you're so closed-minded or so closed off from everything else. It was like our office was kind of like North Korea. We didn't know anything about any other office. Our agency owner just kept our heads down, working forward. And it was kind of like a boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street thing. And, we would have to run like wind sprints if we didn't hit our numbers and this and all these different forms of punishment. Like people hated coming to work. You got results. There's a lot of younger guys there. But then as we grew, it became a really toxic environment. It's like, I don't want to lead my people that way. And I could see that it was almost like changing me where I didn't want to associate with that. And so when we broke off to our agency, there was a leadership podcast that I was listening to, and the way that he approached coaching his team, and this guy, he has 37 satellite churches. His name's Craig Rochelle, and he preaches here in Edmond. And the way that he leads his team and every single person and all his leaders underneath him, like they're very understanding and they're very open. And they were ranked one of the highest places to work at. A lot of people in my neighborhood work at the local Life church, and it's a huge building, and they just love it. They love the atmosphere there. They love that. And I was like, what is he doing to get everybody on board with what he is talking about and his vision? And wasn't just his vision, it was their vision. And he became very open-minded, and he would do what they call survey or 360 surveys, where totally anonymously people would write, answer questions about their leader, about their manager. And I, subjected myself to that. And it's kind of eye-opening to see, like, all your employees, when we were at Allstate, we had 9, to see what they thought. And, they weren't being rude or mean, but they're being truthful. They're being truthful on how I was talking with them. When I was talking to them, I always had my head down on my phone, always, texting, and I wasn't spending one-on-one time with them when I thought I was. And so hearing all that and seeing all that and just going back, reflecting, it's like, all right, I need to be more, just more of an open leader and just be able to give and receive feedback. As much as I give it, I need to be open to receive it. And being the agency owner, it's like, you don't want your employees telling you what to do or even telling you how you should run something or how you should act, but seeing it from their view and, kind of obey or just obey into what they're saying. Like, hey, when you talk to me, put your phone down, just be one-on-one, be present with me and not answer emails and Slack and all that other stuff while we're doing a one-on-one talk. So opening up to that is it's the way that we carve out at least 30 minutes a week with everybody. And either it's about their family, it's about their life. I'm helping one of my people with her taxes tomorrow. We're going to spend our 30 minutes doing her taxes and talking about our horses tomorrow, for 30 minutes. Just, I know we're all short on time, but having that one-on-one and being able to give the feedback and receive it just as much as I give it is something that's really opened us up to having that open relationship here.
I love that, man. One of my favorite parts of our team members' annual performance reviews that we've structured in accordance with the 5 core values of our company is at the end of the review, they get to give me a review, and whoever their hiring manager is or their direct report, I should say, if it's Addie or Jennifer or whatever, and they're asked simply 2 questions: what do you appreciate about my leadership in the last year? What is positive in your mind? And also, what do I need to work on? What are 1 or 2 things that I'm not doing as well as I should be in your estimation? And the most important thing is that I simply receive the feedback and I don't say a word other than, thank you for sharing your perspective. I really appreciate that. Because if I say anything, it's going to be perceived as invalidating whatever it was that the employee just shared.
Yep.
So,
and that right there is just kind of just keeping and it's hard for us business owners. Like, hey, I need, when they say, hey, I need your undivided attention. And in my head, I'm like, you don't know what it's like answering all these emails, texts, phone calls, all this, it's that runs through your head. But I need to look at it from their point of view. I need to make them the focus during that 15, 30 minutes of time, even though I have my phone notifications just going off left and right. Just put it away, put it on do not disturb, and listen. And because that's what they want. That's what they, and I always tell them like this, it's like saying the word but in the middle of a sentence. I like your hair, but you could do this, this, and this better. It just negates everything that they just said, or they even talked about or expressed to you in that sentence before that. So that's one thing, is the culture of honesty. Our agency, we have to give one piece of feedback a day per person, to whether it's the VAs, because the VAs are on Zoom with us all day long. We're in one big Zoom room all day long. We'll do breakout rooms if they need to go work and talk on something, but every day they have to send me like, what feedback did you give to somebody, whether it's coaching feedback or it's just appreciation feedback. Like, hey, like you saved my butt on that policy. Thank you so much for this or that, or something, or hey, that phone call you just did, you should try X, Y, or Z. They have to do that. And day one for all of our employees, it's kind of nerve wracking for them, because at the end of the day, they have to give feedback to everybody. And they're coming in super blind, not knowing what insurance is about. And my team knows how to accept that, because they were in that position before too as well. They have to give feedback to every single person here at the end of the day, just to get them accustomed to giving it every single day, and then being able to receive it. Because me being the highest on the totem pole and having the lowest person, I need to be able to receive it from that person. He sees it from a totally different way. And so they're all used to that. And that's always a fun day for them, because they're just kind of like, I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm like, you're not going to make anybody mad. Just tell them how you feel. Tell them what you thought they did good, what you think they need to work on, even though you have no idea about insurance. And just present it. And once you get this done and over with, you'll be fine.
No, man, the whole concept of making sure that everybody on the team knows that it's not an authoritarian structure, that everybody on the team knows, hey, if you have an idea for how we can do better, share the idea. Like, if there's something that we're doing that doesn't make sense to you, raise your hand and say, can I ask, why do we do this way? Okay, help me understand. And that whole attitude, there I just said it, that attitude of help me understand. I don't understand why or what or when or whatever that is, but presenting it in the lens of curiosity. Why do we do that? Have we considered doing it this way instead? Did we try that before I got here? Have we already done that and does it work? Just that I tend to call it relentless curiosity, but it's like always asking, what if we ... How can we ... And making sure that everybody on the team knows you're not just, able to make those kind of comments, those kind of questions. It's encouraged. So.
Right. Yeah. And that's,
that creates so many opportunities to have positive dialogue with your team that has literally nothing to do with insurance. It's not talking about coverage or how to close a deal or some operational thing or some in the weeds nuts and bolts thing. And that is so much more important than all the insurance stuff, right? Because I could tell from the look on your face, like, yeah, we're totally in lockstep. It's like, you got to be a good human before you're a good insurance agent.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The more you care about other people, I tell them that the more you care about other people, the more sales you're going to make. Every producer has like those aha moments. Like I have them at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months, and about 16, 18 months in, like they have different aha moments. And Natasha, she's right at 18 or 19 months right now. And she's having the aha moment where she is pushing business away right now. And then her pushing it away is like making them want to come back. Like she pushed him over to a State Farm agent, and the guy was like, yeah, it's like $1,800 less, but he ended up going with us because he trusted by just pushing it away. I was like, I've been telling you, like, the more you care, not try to sell it and actually look out for them. If they're giving them state minimum liability, then yeah, don't push them that way. But if we're going umbrella versus umbrella and, everything's identical on there, like, show them, like, so she did that and she got him back with it. So it's like the more you care and the more you start focusing on other people and not yourself, the more growth you're going to have. A lot of people and a lot of agents that are starting out, or even that's been doing it for 20, 30 years, they don't like getting feedback from certain people because they feel like they're being attacked, right? They're attacking their identity. And a lot of people, and what we have to understand about that is that it's not your identity they're attacking. It's what's happening and what's being done. It's not you. It's the either behavior or the illustration that you're doing is that what needs to be corrected. You're a great person. You may not be doing this intentionally. Like you may be a good salesperson, but try things this way and see how that affects you and see how that works, whatever. So just always separating, the do from the who, basically, right? Separating who's giving you the feedback and what you're doing in that position to get that feedback and everything. So,
man, I think one of the most frustrating things for me about the state of society in general, as far as giving and receiving feedback or sharing opinions or perspective or beliefs or whatever, is this notion that someone's person, their identity, and their choices, their behavior, their lifestyle are intrinsically linked. And it's like, if you say anything that is perceived as negative, then someone's reaction is, oh, you hate me. Stop hating me because I'm fill in the demographic blank here. Whatever the demographic is, age, gender, sexual orientation, geography, family of origin, socioeconomic status, religion, pick your demographic, it doesn't matter. And then into just behavior. Oh, you're chronically late. Oh, you're irritable on the phone sometimes. You skip steps because you get in a hurry. Or, name any other behavioral thing that is problematic. So many people these days are so sensitive, like hypersensitive to critical feedback. And it's like, how does anybody get better if you're so dang sensitive? How in the world are you going to be able to receive constructive, beneficial feedback that will help you get better person, better, performer of your job duties, better human in general, like more resilient, mental toughness, like having all of these things that you and I would consider to be essential for someone to be successful in a sales role or in the insurance industry in general. It's like, can we just all, put a helmet on and be a little bit more open to hearing feedback that may not be the happiest thing ever? I don't know. I don't know how to solve that because it's become systemic and societal at this point, I think.
And Craig actually in his podcast, he brings up a good point about that is because that most of us, we want to know when we're doing something right. But most of us, we fear it when we aren't doing something right. We made a little mistake. We're going to get fired. We're going to get in trouble for this. I'm going to be put on a pedestal in front of everybody and be shamed. Right. But he says the real reason is because we don't understand the value of feedback. And that's why a lot of people fear it is, he tells people, don't dread it, crave it. Like look for the feedback. Like if you look for it and you do something wrong, or let's say you thought that was your best phone call of your life and you ask for feedback and it's like, whoa, that went a totally different way. But you need to seek out feedback every single time. So it becomes the norm. And that's why, honestly, that's the reason why I make everybody give feedback every single day, because then it makes it easier for me when I do have one-on-one coaching times or talk times. Like they're so used to it. They hear it all the time from each other that it's not like out of nowhere, when I'm, either correcting something or coaching on this or even giving them positive feedback on it. I had one guy, he's still here. He's probably my best retention specialist that I've ever had. He gets so nervous when I pull him in a breakout room. So I tell him beforehand, like, hey, you're not in trouble. I want to talk to you about this because that phone call was amazing. And I want to know, like, where did you come up with this or that? Sometimes, like, I would just pull him in a breakout room. He's like, oh no, am I in trouble? I'm like, no, don't think of it like that. Like you're never in trouble unless you're
constructive.
Yeah. Like unless you're stealing something, like you're never in trouble. You've been, you're a huge asset to us. And he's kept more households with these rate increases than anybody ever has before with us. He's really diving into it. And so I'm giving him a lot of feedback. And he's just so, when he loses a household, he's just so nervous. I'm like, hey, it's going to happen. Like, and I got to show him, like, no one's mad, no one's upset. It's part of the business. We're going to lose some people, right? So I tell him, don't dread it. You got to crave it. It's something that it's not something that we have to endure. It's something that like we have to embrace throughout every single day. Because we get feedback from everywhere. Feedback when you look in the mirror, feedback when you drive. I mean, feedback is literally everywhere. You look all day long. You get feedback on your Facebook post. You get 5 likes or you get 0 likes, right? It's just, how do you embrace it, and how do you use it as a positive, right? All feedback to me is good. My wife gets sick and tired of me sometimes because she's not in this office all day. And I'm always asking her, like, hey, how could I have done this better? Or how could I have done that better? Or, I coach 4 of my kids' sports, and I ask her after the game, like, hey, what could we have done better? She's like, they're 5. They're couldn't have really done better with 5-year-olds out there. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to get better at it and, be the best 5-year-old flag football team there's out there. So you just have to proactively seek it. And then you'll get people that are tired of giving it to you all the time.
Man, you're dead on there. It's that the whole idea of, being a scientist in testing hypotheses of, hey, looks like, sounds like, feels like, to use language from the Never Split the Difference, from of sorts, the parroting it back to them and giving them the opportunity to either confirm or clarify. Either one is a win. They either confirm your hypothesis or they clarify, and you can adjust your hypothesis. You can proceed accordingly. But I mean, whether you're thinking of the way that Chris Voss talks about it and Never Split the Difference, or sales trainers like Josh Braun that love to talk about detaching from outcomes, to being emotionally agnostic with whatever the outcome of the conversation is, because you're simply approaching it with the heart of a scientist, going, I think this is a good way to solve the situation that you're in, or to, deliver a product or a piece of advice that's going to move you forward, and then bouncing it off of the prospect, but doing it in such a way that you are hands off. You are allowing them to speak and add their input to the narrative so you can adjust your hypothesis or proceed. And it's like, why would we be any different with our team in that same idea of, hey, I have this idea for how we can win as a company, or how you need to be in your job role, and asking them for input on occasion and being willing to actually listen. What a concept, right?
Yep. And listening is the best thing. Listening, they say God gave you two ears to listen and one mouth to speak, whatever. It's listen twice as much as you speak. And I know this is a lot easier said than done, especially with people like me, who I'm a very stubborn person. As you see, like, I didn't give up on going after my wife for a year. I'm very stubborn. And sometimes my wife, I'm very stubborn in like working with my 9-year-old, because he's been doing jiu-jitsu for 5 or 6 years. I've been doing jiu-jitsu the last 18 years. And I'm very stubborn with him doing practice. Like, hey, he's like, remember, he's 9. He's not so involved like you are. And I get so caught up in listening to my wife sometimes on how hard or shouldn't be as hard on my son in class, or because I coach his class too. I'm like, no, he needs it. But then I look back and my son's like just lollygagging around. I'm like, yeah, he's not into it as much as some of these other kids are, but I'm glad that he's doing it. So it's hard for people like me to be open to that. But I think if I can do that, anybody can do it, because I am stubborn. I am very stubborn. Like, it took me 2 years with my old office manager just to embrace our talk path. I wouldn't do it the way that he would do it. And then, oh crap, I'm having a baby. I need to make more money. And then I started being open to coaching. And then just that, me being open to feedback and coaching and doing it other people's ways and being open-minded, it opened the door for me. And I am where I'm at right now because of it.
Well, let's talk about that talk path for just a moment. It sounds like there was a fundamental shift in the way that you approached your conversations. Do you mind going into some detail there?
Yeah. So our talk path, and the way that it was taught to me, and the way we've kind of just kind of critiqued it and changed things up on it is a lot of people want to be the advisor in insurance, right? And so we're the total opposite. Like we take the order, but we're gonna push them in a way where they can only choose X, Y, and Z of what we want them to choose. So some of our questions paint them in the picture or paint them in the corner, saying like, "Hey, what kind of cars do you see driving around where you live?" And they'll say, Tahoes, Ford F-150s. And we ask them how much one of those cost, and they'll say 60, 70 grand. Well, do you want me to pay for that, or do you want to pay for it if you were to hit it? They want us, cool. And we just subconsciously, it gives us the option, or it gives us the permission to quote them at higher limits because they're telling us that they want everything. So we're basically paying them in a corner, asking them what they want. We're not saying, "Hey, what do you want for your liability limits?" We're just saying problems, creating problems, giving them solutions. And then at the end, like, "Hey, this is what you ordered. This is what you asked for. And I'm giving you exactly what you asked for." And to my sales guys, I tell them, like, think of you as a waiter at Chili's. Somebody orders the chicken and the broccoli, but you bring out steak and broccoli. They're going to want to eat the steak. It tastes better. We all know it tastes better, but they're not going to pay the steak price because you chose it for them. If you can get them to choose the steak, then they're more willing to pay for it at a higher price because it's their choice, right? And so one thing that I do with all my new salespeople is a week into them working, I'll pull them in here. I'm like, "Hey, I got a good idea. We're going to make you $1 million by the time you're 65. I'm going to take $500 out of your check, put it in a Roth IRA for you. So you'll have $1 million by the time." And they're just like, "What? I can't, I can't afford $500 on my check." I'm like, "How did that make you feel when I made that choice for you?" And it makes them take a step back. I was like, that's exactly what you don't want to do on the phone, is make choices for other people, but point them in the right direction by education, painting them in the corner with questions. It's for their own benefit, knowing the difference of different liability limits, and going from there. So that's our whole talk path is based off of just creating a problem, give them a solution. Here's the problem. Oh, here's the solution magically that we have with everything. And so, like for life insurance, most people ask, like, "Hey, where do you have your life insurance at? Where do you have this?" We ask them if they own a home. If I can quote your home two different ways. One, if you passed away, you wouldn't have your house paid off just like every other insurance company. Or two, if you did pass away, we would pay off your home. Which way would you want me to quote you? So, yeah, pay off my home if I pass away. They don't realize that they're asking for life insurance, but they're subconsciously asking for life insurance to be quoted with it. So it's just little questions like that we ask through the talk path to point them in the right direction.
Love it. That's brilliant, man. Anytime we're not using jargony, insurance-y kind of words, it's always easier for someone to get to the bottom of a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the rules in my office is like, how can we say this more simply? How are we able to get our point across without using insurance-y words?
Yep. We have a whole list of, we call them baby terms. We call them baby terms just because you can teach this to a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and they're going to understand what it is. Every coverage has a baby term associated with it, and that's how we describe it.
Love it. Man, where else do you want to go? I think we've talked the leadership and the empathy thing probably to a good resolution there. What else has your curiosity right now? What are you reading? What are you learning? Let's turn the light on Education Station, as my wife says.
So, man, of course, everybody's trying to focus towards commercial lines. So we're hiring commercial people, experienced commercial people. I used to not hire anybody with insurance experience because the people that we did, they were, there's a reason why they don't work at other offices because they were stuck in their ways. So we always hired people brand new. P&C or, the personal lines was always easy to teach that. Now commercial, we're looking for people that are experienced in commercial, know what they're doing, know how to fill out these forms, and do that. So that's what we're focusing on now. The team that we have right now is pretty good. My 2 salespeople, one of them was a nurse from OU, and she gave up being a nurse to work from here, and she's making double than what she's ever made. And so she's now learning. She owns like 6 horses, and now she's learning the farm and equestrian or whatever horses are called. That type of product to start selling in her niche of people that she knows and everything. So we're about to start dabbling in that. And I'm from New Jersey, so I'm not really a country person, but so that's all her to get into the farming stuff.
How in the world did you end up in Bossier City, Louisiana as an MMA fighter from the great state of New Jersey?
So I moved there, moved to Louisiana when I was like 9 or 10. My mom worked in Atlantic City, and Bossier, Shreveport started the casinos.
Yep.
So they all got big, I guess, sign-on bonuses because they needed dealers and pit bosses. So then we moved down there, and then I just became really good. And actually, I got into martial arts because I was in trouble. And I had to go to my mom's kickboxing and taekwondo class, which I thought was stupid. And then I saw guys beating each other up. I was like, I want to do that. So me being grounded led to all of this. Me making a bad mistake as a kid led to me getting into fighting, getting into insurance, and then now here I am. So,
man,
it's
interesting how things progress, right? Divine providence has some mysterious powers.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride, and I love it. I know people are tired of just insurance is draining everybody right now, but I feel like right now is going to be it's tiring, but the people that can adapt and move on from here, like it's going to be worth it in about 2 years. So,
man, this is when the winners win. I absolutely love the hard market. I love that the bar has been raised, that so many of the C and D players in our industry are being exposed because internet leads and begging realtors and loan officers and CPAs and bankers and financial advisors for low-end transactional referrals. That doesn't work right now. That's no way to run an agency. And so many of these folks that have been a scab on the industry for a long time that are not doing anything good for their clients. They're literally just dead weight floating downstream saying, "Oh, you want a quote? Oh, sure, we'll try to save you some money."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, go find yourself something else to do for a job there, pal, because you're going to complain long and loud and you're going to wash out of this industry, and the rest of us that remain are going to be better off without you here.
Funny story is that once a month, we'll have our morning meeting, and we will call to get quotes from other agencies' offices, just so I can show them like, hey, this is what you don't want to do. And we got a quote the other day. I'm not going to say their name, but this agent's trying to sell them an ACV policy with a 2% deductible in Oklahoma. And he's saying your ACV is going to be the way to go for the next 5 to 6 years during this market. And I was trying to wrap my brain around it, trying to figure out like, why would this person push ACV and a 2% deductible? And we couldn't figure out we can't figure out a reason why. And so, they were pushing it hard, and I see them on Facebook all the time pushing that. I'm like, that's why you're winning somewhat business, is because you're not educating these people right and push them to an ACV product.
Man, you're winning the wrong business, that's for sure.
Yep.
Whew. As the saying goes, how you win them is how you will lose them.
Yeah, and I encourage every agency to go to do secret shopping calls. Even we do secret shopping calls on our people here. I'll have my friends call in, and then all of our calls are recorded. I'll give them a list of things to kind of fight them on, and see what they do. So they never know if it's one of my friends or if it's an actual quote that they're actually quoting. So, it's good.
Man, if I did that, I think Jennifer or Amanda on my team would pitch a big fit if I wasted their time with Secret Shopper. Their pipeline is so full right now. It's like, James, stop it.
Yeah.
We don't have time for this crap.
That's how Natasha and Lance are right now. They can't keep up right now. That's why we hired 2 more VAs just to help with quoting.
Oh man.
And
last question, because I know you're big into VAs. How does this translate? All the stuff we've talked about in this episode of your high emotional intelligence, your leadership, your development of your people, how does this translate to remote workers? It's a talent that is not physically present in your office.
Oh, I mean, we're on Zoom, even though Natasha's right here and I have another one in that office right across the hall from me. We're on Zoom all day long. So the VAs are on there with us. And I mean, it's like, I mean, I see them just as much as I see Natasha and Lance. We're on there. I love that they are the hardest workers I've ever had. And I bonus them based on like that. And they are so thankful. Charmy's first, she started us March of 2022, whatever. And her wedding was in October and we just paid for her honeymoon. It was like $800, but to her, it meant the world to her because they weren't able to go on a honeymoon until we stepped in and paid for everything. So it's the way that we lead them. We even do one-on-ones with them, even though there's a little bit of a language barrier. I mean, they speak pretty good English, but we still do one-on-ones with them, checking on them because I want to make sure their mental health, they're not just working themselves to the bone because their personality type is they don't complain, they don't do anything. It's just they have a very servant attitude. And sometimes I tell them like, hey, take a step back, take an extra 30 minutes on lunch today. Like you guys have been pumping out quotes all day long and pumping out, the chord forms all day long. Just take a little bit longer or take Friday off, get yourself together and then come back on Monday or whatever. So it's same thing with our local people. We do with them, do one-on-one meetings throughout the week, throughout the month. And then at the first of every month, we do an hour one-on-one meeting on the first or second of the month to go over what they did last month, what they want to accomplish, and what's 2 things that they need my help with this month, whether it's like staying on them more or, helping them, close more business for homes or commercial stuff. We break all that down. And same thing with them. We come up with a plan for them. How can I help you guys get more quotes out and more organized? And I think they really enjoy that, being able to be on Zoom with us and talk with us all day long.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful way to bridge the gap. I apologize. I'm half of our episode. I've been trying to put a fire out that's supposed to be closing tomorrow.
Oh, no, that's all right.
I hate being distracted in an interview, man. It's the most hypocritical thing. I'm sorry. If it wasn't a huge account, I would have just put myself on Do Not Disturb.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, handle that.
No. You give me 10 seconds here. His number. Sorry. Right, I was almost done with the episode. I thought I was going to get out without having to be full on distracted. Man, the thing about the Filipino people is it is a double-edged sword because on the one hand, they may be the most polite nation on the face of planet Earth. I don't know if I've ever met someone who was just categorically unpleasant. All of them are just a very pleasant, easygoing people, all the ones that I've met. The challenge is getting them to say anything constructive or provide any feedback at all. It's almost like, and I don't mean this in any sort of way like they're an animal, it's like the dog in your house, he just wants to make you happy. Mm-hmm. Oh, you fetch the bone? Sure, I'll do it. Oh, hey, I'm going to rest my nose on your leg because I know you like it and you like scratching my ears, whatever. The dog just wants to make you happy. And I feel like every person in that role from that country is like, all they want to do is make their employer happy, make the client happy, get to the end result. And anything else is like, hey, do you have any ideas? No, I'm just doing my job. Hey, how can we do this better? I don't know. We're doing pretty good, aren't we? And it's like that, getting constructive stuff, getting negative out of a Filipino is so difficult. It's like, Tell me what I'm doing poorly. I don't know. You're great. You're nice. I like you. Like, that's not what I want you to say.
Be like, be mean or do
be direct. Like, insult me. Be super direct. It's like, well, no, really, I'm sorry. I really can't. It's like,
I will say this, Charmy and Arian, they have helped created more systems. So I'll ask them like, how can we do this better? And like, oh, it's good. And then like 2 days later, they're like, can we show you something? And then they'll have something made. I'm like, yeah, we've had this done for a week. We just, we were scared to show you. I'm like, why are you scared to show me this? Like, I've been asking for this. Like, it's, because they are all of our commission reconciliation. Like, they have a nice spreadsheet where we can look up every every transaction for one person possible, every endorsement, everything goes. And I was like, why didn't you show me this a month ago? Like, oh,
Wow.
I didn't know if you were going to like it. I was like, no, I love it. Like, this is what we need. So no, it's, if you give them we tell them like, hey, I want you to create anything and everything. And I bonus them on making stuff. So like, if you make something and it's working, I'm going to pay you on it. So it's kind of like they're incentivized to go ahead and make something. And even if they try, I'm like, well, here's $50 for trying that. Cause that was a pretty good idea that you came up with.
Love it. I knew you had some kind of approach that was going to be proactive there, because getting the best out of a remote team member is so difficult. Helping them feel connected to the rest of the team, especially if only a small percentage of the team is remote and everybody else is in person. It sounds like you've done a great job of that. Any final thoughts before we go, man? I promised you about 35 or 40 minutes. We went over just a few this time. And as we land the plane, is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to?
No, man, I think everything is good. I appreciate you having me on. I just say for everybody, even all the agents, just be open to listening to your people, and I would highly challenge everybody. Go through a 360 interview with your people and take the blinders off and see what you're missing and what you need to work on, because doing a 360 interview, you're not going to like it at first, but after a couple of them, you're going to love it. And you're going to love hearing that. And because it's just going to make your agency better, right? You're the ceiling. If you keep your blinders on, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be your limitation to growth. Everyone's going to be scared to tell you stuff.
100%, man. You and I as leaders have to be the most vulnerable, the most willing to hear constructive feedback, or else no one else is going to follow our lead or lack of a lead in that area. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Brandon? If they want to connect with you more.
I think you can find me on Facebook. I'm one of the only Brandon Rondons, Rondon, or just email me, brandon@rondonins.com.
There you go. Awesome. I really appreciate your time today, man. He is Brandon Rondon from the great state of Oklahoma, and this has been another Agency Freedom podcast. Check us out on YouTube if you are into video, if you want to see our beautiful faces and all this stuff that I put behind me for Content Studio and whatnot. Drop us a review if you like what you hear. And that's it for this episode. Make it a great day, boys and girls. Talk to you again real soon. Y'all take care.